Oh. Hey guys, before we get started, we just wanted to say that we have a new member of the family, which is an old member of the family for us, but a new one for this podcast. It's our sister Anna. Anna, say a little something about yourself. Hey, that's
Oh,
nice. Thanks for being here.
hi, I'm Anna.
And we just want to let everyone know the name Significant Brothers is staying the same despite the addition of our sister. The logo will eventually change, and we hope you enjoy this new change in our podcast.
Welcome to Significant Brothers. I'm Chase.
I'm Cray.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Brad.
And today we're talking about conspiracy theories. My conspiracy theory is called the business plot. Let me take you back to post-World War I, where we see a general for the United States, Smedley Butler. He was a national hero. Post-World War I, he advocated for veterans, and he was like big on getting them more money for them serving in World War I and defending our country. So, this guy is one of the most celebrated, decorated, and like a very big time general at the time. He was like, everybody knew him. He was kind of like Patton essentially, but for World War One. So
He was the Frank
In
Lloyd
19
Wright of World War One.
yes, and some would say, I heard this. I don't know if it's true, but I heard he was very good at strategy and tactics in general, and he never lost a game of Catan.
That's incredible, especially once the game
I don't
invented
think he's
yet.
ever won one either.
Yes, that's how good he was. He died in 1940, by the way, so yeah, he wasn't around. So, in 1934, Butler claimed that members of the U.S. elite had ordered him to lead an army in order to stage a military coup and oust Franklin Delano Roosevelt. At the time, I don't know if you guys are familiar with FDR, but this was in the middle of like, it was bad to be a communist. It was going to get worse to be a communist, but it was still pretty bad to be a communist. And FDR saying that he wanted to give jobs to people and to have his New Deal. All of that stuff made people think, I think FDR is a communist and I have money and they're going to, FDR is going to take all my money because he's a communist. So among the people who wanted to stage a potential military coup, according to Butler, were the DuPont family, the Remington family, and the Bush family, where our beloved Herbert Walker and Walker George Bushes come from. Their
Really?
George W. Bush's grandfather was a part of this group of people who wanted to take out FDR.
Is the DuPont family is that the chemical business?
Yes,
DuPont
it is.
chemical? Okay.
Yeah, so they're kind of like, I don't know if you guys know Montgomery Burns.
Wait,
No.
from The Simpsons?
Was it the
Yeah.
Simpsons?
Okay.
Oh,
I feel like
'cause
this is the... Yeah, I'm like, this must be the fifth time you've asked that question on this podcast.
Yep, always, and it's never once made it into the final cut. Okay, so the people who had approached Butler, what he said he testified in front of Congress. So what he told them is he went along with it for a bit. He met with them in order to get more information so that he could at least testify and like be like, this isn't okay, staging a military coup. And so he said that they were looking to do an Italian style of like a fascist dictatorship, because at the time there wasn't, Hitler wasn't like, at the time people didn't know, we don't know everything we know about Hitler now, and he hadn't done awful things that he's known for in 1934, but he was just like the sort of fascist leader along with like Mussolini. And so there was something sexy about Italian fascism that made people think, I kind of want to have this. So the
It was
elite,
the new kid in town.
it was cool. We were like, democracy, yeah, like it got us a communist. Like it's only gonna get worse. And so, if only they could see the fascists that we have now, they would be like at ease knowing that we went through so much to get a cotton candied fascist leader. But so like the whole motivation behind this was wanting to change like America for the common man because they thought that the interests of they thought that the interest of everybody that FDR had didn't fit the interest of the big businesses that they had because it was hard because they were rich and elite. So that's why they effectively wanted to oust him. And Butler had refused, and he said, I can't do this because I love America, and that's why I defended it in the first place. You guys don't love America. And so he refused, and then went to Congress, and then testified. Gerald C. McGuire was one of the big guys, and who had promised a 500,000 man army to march on Washington, D.C. to upheave Franklin. And so he testified in front of Congress, and this is okay. So everything I've told you is true, and there was a planned coup in the United States. To what extent it was going to happen, we don't know. But nobody, even though we know that these people did it, and we know all the people who are involved, nobody was convicted of treason, and nothing happened to anybody.
Wow.
There was plots of overthrowing the government, which is insanely illegal. Like, you can say freedom of speech all you want, but that's definitely not okay. And there were like newspapers that were like had a ton of slanderous stuff on Smedley Butler that were saying hates America, doesn't want to go through with this, and none of them retracted any of their slanderous statements, and like everybody just moved on like it was a normal thing. So you have to wonder who else was in on it.
Well, I guess you have to wonder, maybe it was maybe just replacing those people and accusing them of treason would only make the situation worse. Maybe they weren't easily replaceable people. Maybe they were key supporters and not easily replaceable ones, so he had to just keep them around despite a coup attempt, or whatever extent that was going to be.
Especially if they've gotten ousted for being coups, and then you just put two people up there you don't know if they're coups or not. You could bury the secret all over again. But I think they should have gotten in trouble.
Hey, I don't think the rich elite run America in the way that this coup. Clearly, they don't, because if they really did oppose people like Obama, there would have been a coup, I guess, or they would have just lobbied better. In fact, okay, that's how. Yeah, we don't have to have coups now because we have coups with our money.
I mean, I guess in the strictest of things, we have a rich businessman literally running the country right now.
Yeah.
He has billions of dollars that he says he has.
True.
That was a new conspiracy theory. I heard Donald Trump's homeless.
He hasn't released his taxes, so we'll never know.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the moral of the story is snitches get stitches.
But they didn't get stitches.
I know, nobody got stitches. Snitches should get stitches. What do you got?
Okay. This is about the reptilians, which is a hybrid race of human extraterrestrial reptiles.
Wait, extraterrestrial, like they're from space?
Yes, they are from the Alpha a constellation in Draco, which I don't know where that is, but
Oh,
That's
come
all
on, Anna. It's
space.
right
Somewhere
around
out
the
there.
corner.
Isn't the Queen of England a lizard?
yes, that's one thing they believe in.
I knew
I'll
it.
get to that more.
I mean, she just became the world's oldest reigning monarch. Or no, England's oldest reigning
Yeah,
monarch.
Komodo dragons can live a long time.
So they are, when they're in their like lizard form, they're very tall and they drink blood.
Okay.
Seems
There
normal.
this hasn't been like a long following for a long time, but there's been ideas of this in like fiction of like human bodies with snake heads. Okay, so there's this guy called David Icke. Maybe you've heard of him?
Whoa, I have a professor named David Icke. Or I did have a professor named David Icke. I'm hoping it's the same person.
Is he British? He was the guy that like kind of like popularized this conspiracy, and he kind of seemed like sort of a spokesperson for this whole idea because he like always came up in my research. He actually does have a decent amount of supporters in up to like 47 countries.
Oh, how many supporters?
It didn't say exactly, but he did give lectures, and I think the most was like 6,000 people there.
At a lecture?
But yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean they were all followers. They could have been like, this dude's crazy, let's go see him.
Yeah, I probably would see him.
He believes that the like reptilians control Earth by taking on human form and gaining political power to manipulate human societies, such as Queen Elizabeth, and he said that he believes that George W. Bush was one too.
So was she born from a lizard?
I would say that Queen Elizabeth was probably not born a lizard, but was taken over by a lizard early on because she was always royalty. But maybe George W. Bush was taken over by a reptile, like early on in his campaign or when he became president.
Well, I was going to say, it's very obvious that, you know, they came from a spaceship and, you know, that's when they appeared on the Earth and they just forged all their documents. That's my...
How long do they think that there have been lizard people?
There was a report of one in 1945. Like, a lot of people did not believe in this. It was just this one police officer who got abducted and like went on board and saw like it wasn't like full on reptiles, but he said it was humanoids that had some sort of reptile appearance.
So how do you tell if someone's a reptile? Like, do they have any telltale signs? Like, you're French kissing them and you realize, ooh, their tongue's a bit long.
And it like
No,
Really soft.
splits right down the middle.
I don't know what proof they have of Queen Elizabeth being one. I think they were just kind of like, hey, she might be a lizard.
It could happen.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, like all of her children, they really they were hatched from eggs actually. No one talks about it.
That'd be a pretty, like, good way to rationalize, like, if you believed this conspiracy theory, it'd be a pretty good way to rationalize your inadequacies. Like, you know, you're in school, you're doing badly, you're like, ah, gosh, those darn lizards always getting A's, ruining the bell curve, or what have you.
The funny thing is, it's just like I never thought of lizards as like particularly smart or good. Like, why does it have to be lizard people? Like, it could have been any sort of alien. I think lizards are stupid.
Should have been ravens.
Birds are pretty
Ravens are
smart.
smart.
Yeah.
Ravens
Yeah.
are very smart.
Anna, why aren't they ravens?
Well, the lizard folk race in Dungeons and Dragons, I think they have a plus intelligence modifier, so
Wow.
they're pretty smart. Yeah.
There's this YouTube page that I found. It was called Reptilian Resistance. And it was kind of, they had like all these random videos. They have like current events and like current tragedies that happened, and informational videos on reptiles, which I did say were very intelligent.
Wait, just like
What?
normal reptiles or like the humanoid reptiles?
Reptiles in general.
Oh.
And there's this one video where it was like, the security guard of Obama he's a reptilian, and it was May 2013, and Obama was giving a speech somewhere, and like down in the crowd there was this security guard that was standing there. He was like bald, and he was kind of like looking back and forth like across the room, scanning like very fast. So they're like, that's a reptile behavior. And they're just like, look at him, he's so creepy, he has to be one. And they're just like, you can see the shape of his head's kind of weird, it's just because of the lighting. And then they switched to another angle, and it was very blurry, and they're like, you can see his head shifting in shape right now before our eyes.
Oh my goodness.
It was like so blurry though.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Sometimes you see what you
interesting.
want to see.
Yeah. I mean, the guy did look very creepy.
And lizards are creepy, so therefore he is a lizard.
Yes. So, moral of the entire story is we can just call out, well, no. We can dislike our political people because they're probably reptiles, and that's probably why they're so awful. They're trying to manipulate the human society.
So my conspiracy theory that I looked up purports that there are these ancient astronauts, these extraterrestrial beings that visited Earth and made contact with humans in prehistoric times. Now, I don't know if this was the start of said lizard people, but they give a lot of, supposed evidence that this is a real thing. So, like, if you look in ancient religious texts and you see that there weren't in fact deities there, they misinterpreted them as ancient astronauts. Which, that's an argument.
So, did we see this?
I guess
Sorry,
out of-
do we see this as like cave drawings?
I'll get to that. But I'm talking,
Okay.
so ancient religious texts, like, what they call deities were actually extraterrestrial beings or ancient astronauts that happen, and they're just like, oh, they must be gods. I guess kind of like when the Spaniards went across the sea and they're in all their metal armor, and then people were like, oh, they're gods. And then they gave
So, like,
everyone smallpox.
When people look back in the ancient texts, they were just like, oh wait, we got this all wrong, they're actually astronauts?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, so angels, or like Renaissance paintings where there's angels in the distance, like in the clouds, and people are looking up, be like, boom, that's reoccurring evidence that that these exist.
Interesting.
Okay. I buy that.
Okay, sure. All right.
Let's keep going with this. I like this.
And then there's also like ancient artwork. So as you said, Chase, like in ancient cave paintings in I'm terrible at pronouncing things, in Wandjina, Australia, or rock drawings in Valcamonica in Italy, have a supposed resemblance to what astronauts look like when they're doing their EVAs, their extravehicular activities, so, their spacewalks and all that. They look basically like they're in spacesuits and stuff, and I'll send a picture later. I should have sent it before. But they do, it's like drawn in like this white, I don't want to call it chalk because I don't know how they made these drawings, these cave drawings. But they are like these white figures, and then like around their head, they're like these white sort of like domes with like a bunch of like lines coming out of the domes. So they kind of
Like a halo.
Like, I
Yeah,
was just thinking
yeah,
that.
kind of like that. But when you look at the drawings, you're like, huh, yeah, that does kind of look like a spacesuit. Of course, that's just a very, that's your own, using your own present circumstances to interpret history. So,
Can you send us a link to the pictures?
yeah.
Well, I guess how else do you think angels get to Earth? It's not like they just appear.
Yeah, flying is very inefficient.
In the garden, they just like came in and they were like 1 second, they like took their helmets off.
Hooey, the vacuum of space sure is cold.
Anyways, God says you are kicked out of the garden, and you guys need to leave immediately. Beat me up, Gotti.
Aha.
I like the setup and the execution.
Yeah, that was good, Brad.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they look... I'll include this picture in the show notes, but... Yeah, Anna, do you see him?
Let me tell you, those are astronauts.
Oh. I could see that.
I buy it.
You kind of have to wonder if someone just snuck in there and tried drawing that, and then was, like, trying to start something.
Well, how old would those be?
Ooh, I forgot how old those are. I want to say they are... Well, they're older than 10,000 years, I'm
Okay,
pretty
because
sure.
when I would draw chalk on the sidewalk, like, it didn't last more than a few days. I can't believe those are still there after all that time.
Well, it is a cave. So that's
Some good
one big
chalk.
difference. Yes. Also, I'm pretty sure they can carbon date or however they do that and tell how old it is.
I was skeptical when you mentioned those, but seeing the pictures, I can buy into this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a pretty bad job explaining why this conspiracy doesn't exist. But let's keep going. And
I just feel like out of everything we've mentioned so far, this is the most believable. Like even more so than the coup. Like I don't think that really happened, but I'm pretty on board about these.
yeah, it's because
aliens.
I can get it. If our universe is super big, which it is, and there are many other Earth-like planets, then why couldn't another civilization like ours just happen to be further along than our current civilization is 10,000 years
Are you
ago?
gonna answer that question for us?
No, I'm just saying I can see the rationale, but
Yes.
so if I could answer the question that aliens in fact do exist, I feel like
No.
I wouldn't have
You
my
were
current
asking.
job.
You were asking. You said why? Like why couldn't they exist? And then I was hoping you were gonna do the other side of the coin, and be like, here's why they can't exist. Number one.
The Fermi paradox.
Oh yeah.
And so I sent a second link in there. And those are sort of another piece of ancient artwork that people point to, that, say why aliens visited us a while ago. Because in the Nazca Desert in southern Peru, there are these ancient lines. Some of these are very, very large lines, like 1,200 feet long, that are like kind of put into the desert. And they've amazingly like been preserved, I think, because there's not a lot of wind, I guess, in that area. It's a pretty like calm area, so these lines have been preserved for a really long time. But people think that the only way these lines could have been made was with help from an aircraft, from like an aerial view, because you can see they're very large structures, and it's like the only way they could have drawn these things is if they had someone helping them from an aircraft, saying like, no, draw here. And as you can see, the picture I showed you, I think, was taken from an aircraft.
That's from above.
Yeah, well, it's not from.
Oh,
Those
I
are
see
really,
now.
those are really
it
big
looks really
lines.
close up.
As I said, the longest being 1,200 feet long.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they say the long straight lines are runways that the ancient aliens used to land their ships.
So this is kind of like when there's like circles and fields.
Crop circles?
Yes,
Yeah,
that.
I guess. But the idea that they can only be directed from an aircraft is just kind of plain false because you can view them from local foothills.
Well, it's a desert. How many local foothills are there?
Apparently enough to be able to see the drawings.
I mean, yeah, I think
Desert doesn't mean there's not.
sometimes
It means
people
there's not
like
water.
some people like to put evidence of, like, oh, people back then weren't smart enough to be able to do this, but people are pretty smart, and we've been able to do stuff for a long
Yeah,
time.
it's just all a matter of like, putting one grain of sand on the other to make a big ol' hill or something. I feel like there's a better analogy out there than that. As for the long lines that they say the runways are, those can be explained as ceremonial pathways of the ancient Nazca people. So that one's like pretty easily explainable.
So it's like a path that they would walk regularly. We had a dog who walked the same path every day, multiple times a day, and around our house there was just an ingrained path that like dead grass and nothing could grow because this dog walked on it every day out of habit. So those people weren't smart enough to do this. I call BS because my dog was smart enough to do that.
She was
Or
very
maybe
stupid.
your dog was stupid enough to do it.
Yes, that, to quote my dad, she was dumb as a box of rocks.
But she was so lovable.
I loved her.
Oh, I miss her.
Hey, Liddy, if you're listening in heaven. Oh, man. I have a conspiracy theory. All dogs go to heaven. Fill in the blanks.
I can get into that one. So as you can see, many of these mysteries that are cited as evidence for for this hypothesis have alternate explanations other than ancient astronauts. That those cave drawings have alternate explanations, like that drawing being an astronaut is not the only explanation there. The lines in southern Peru, that is not the only explanation that those are ancient runways. So since ancient astronauts aren't necessary in explaining these mysteries, there's something called Occam's razor, where basically among competing hypotheses, you choose the one with the fewest assumptions. If you choose a hypothesis that says ancient astronauts exist, there are a lot of assumptions you have to make. But if you say this is an ancient path used by people, that is a much better hypothesis. Also, one that you can prove to be false, because you can't really... Ancient astronauts aren't really falsifiable.
Yeah.
What science is based on, is just being able to test things and prove things false.
So is this your last Thursday?
Right, so last Thursdayism, that the whole universe was created last Thursday, goes into the realm of philosophy, not science, because you can't prove that false. Anything can be explained away, saying, oh, well, this podcast, my relationship with all of you, was created last Thursday. The moral of the story is that our benevolent overlords, the ancient astronauts, will once again visit us and gift us with technology and long life.
All right. Have you guys ever heard of Benjamin Franklin Gates?
No.
Okay. So Benjamin Franklin Gates descends from a family of treasure seekers who have all hunted for the same thing: a war chest hidden by the founding fathers after the Revolutionary War. Now, Ben's close to discovering its whereabouts, as are his competition, but the FBI is also
Nick
on the
Cage.
Yep. The plot summary to National Treasure.
Man, good one.
No. So that's not what I'm talking about.
bummer.
I know. What if I told you that there are actually different timelines, and that recently we all fell into a shift and I can prove this with the Berenstain Bears.
Oh man.
What?
Have you guys heard this
Wait,
one?
I think you're pronouncing it wrong, but I won't do it
Berenstain?
yet.
Okay. Anna, how do you think this family of... What is their name, this family of bears?
I think it's Bernstein.
Bernstein.
Apparently,
Is it?
it's... No, it was what I remember, and what many people around the world remember, is the Berenstain Bears. But apparently,
It's-
we're all wrong, and it's the Berenstain Bears.
Uh-oh.
It's
I remember.
spelled Stain, not Ein.
Wait, IEN, not EIN?
No, it's AIN.
It's Ain, not Ein. It's the Berenstain Bears, not the Berenstain Bears. Like, when this first affected me, I was taken aback. Like, this was one of those life-altering moments of like, no, I could have sworn that it was this. And apparently, Jay sent a picture. Yeah, exactly. It's
Okay.
I know there's all this proof that it's actually AIN, but I remember EIN. Like,
That's what I always thought it was too.
but no, we've all been wrong. Or there's this shift in reality.
Okay.
Like at a certain date.
At a certain date, everything changed. But a lot of this is under. Have you heard of the Mandela effect?
No.
Yes.
No.
This is what it falls under. And I guess the pretense is like there's something everyone thinks is true, but in fact, it's this other thing. And it stems from the fact that. Do you guys know who Mandela is?
Nelson
Nelson?
Mandela.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, about how he died in jail in South Africa.
You.
Apparently, a lot of people think that he died in jail in South Africa, but he
Like how-
didn't. He's alive.
He's
well,
dead now.
he's dead now.
he's-
Well,
dead.
he's dead now, but he didn't die in jail.
Like how people thought Paul McCartney died in a car accident, and the current Paul McCartney is not, in fact, the real one.
I saw that one too.
Kind of, yeah.
I don't think that's the same.
So it's not the same. If it was, anyways, there's a lot of examples like this, and a lot of it is just attributed to misremembering. Like you have the quote "mirror, mirror on the wall," but that's not actually the quote.
What is it?
Does anyone know
Is
what it
it
is?
mirror? Oh my mirror.
No, it's magic mirror on the wall.
Ah.
Or everyone remembers it being Sex in the City, but it's actually Sex and the City. Or my favorite one, and this one threw me through a loop, is Fruit Loops. It's not actually fruit, Fruit. It's fruit, Oot.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fruit Loops is Fruit.
I actually knew that one.
That's
or
grade A
there's
bull
the
crap.
there's the Star Wars one of it's the quote, Luke, I'm your father, but I think it's like I'm your father, Luke, or something like that.
No, it goes, people think it's Luke, I am your father, but what it really is, did Obi-Wan tell you what happened to your father? It's like, yeah, he told me you killed him. It says, no, I am your father. He never says, Luke, I am
I
your
thought it
father.
was
just no.
call me daddy.
I thought he said,
Have you
Father,
ever
I am your Luke.
Oh wait, no, I screwed up. Dang it.
Have you seen that picture of like Darth Vader's choking the general in the Death Star? And it's like, choke me harder, daddy. And it's like, what? So yeah, it's the Mandela effect where people misremember things happening, and people think like, oh no, this obviously is how I remember it. And my favorite one is, do you guys remember that that movie Sinbad was in back in the 90s, where he was a genie?
Oh,
No,
I
it
never
was
I never
Shaq.
watched it.
I remember it was Shaq though.
Okay, thank you. Because this one, I didn't fall into
Kazam?
this camp. Kazam. But everyone thinks that there was this movie that Sinbad was in. Comedian David Atkins was in this movie called Shazaam. Which is oddly familiar to Kazam. So a lot of people tweeted at Sinbad when they found out, or people remember that this movie existed. And he's all like, no, I was never in this genie movie. But everyone remembers the same things about the movie. But I don't know if they're attributed to them to Kazam, starring Shaquille O'Neal,